Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. I'm David Burdett, lead editor with GamingTrend.com, and I'm joined with Viacheslav. We are going to talk about a game he's working on, Sherlock Holmes The Awakened. It's coming back from, I believe, 2006, 2008, something around there. How are you doing today?
Well, I'm fine. Today was much less air raid sirens than usual, but one just ended a few minutes before we started our interview. So today is, well, I can say a calm day.
Well, calm is definitely a good thing, especially considering I know our first question on the board is we can't fathom the struggles there is to have to deal with the fact of you're developing a video game in the middle of an actual war, and obviously our condolences to that being even something you have to have a challenge with. Would you like to speak on what those challenges are right now?
Well, imagine that when we started to develop the game, it was March of 2022. There was still feeling of uncertainty about what would happen tomorrow or even in a few hours. So constant reports that some city was also attacked, something was bombed, but we've decided that we need something to do. I cannot speak about everyone on the team, but what I was experiencing when there was something to do, like making a game or something like that, doing some job, something repetitive, something which takes all your focus. For me to, experience all these terrors which happened around, it became a bit easier because you have a thing which you can use as switch off mechanism, just put down
Yeah.
your phone when you're reading constant doom scroll news or something like that. It really helped to me, but of course there was some tribulations in the team. Some people joined military forces, some were non-stop volunteering, helping the civilians, helping the army forces and something like that. Someone who lived in the dangerous zones, they had to leave and flee either to either towns or of Ukraine, which was more safe, or even to Europe. So it was like, giant circles about it. It was well, it was extreme experience. I'm glad that I've seen it, but I hope that no one ever would experience something like that ever, because while it teaches you how, how to concentrate, how to focus on something that you has to do, but it also can break a person, because I can imagine how some people continue to work because they've lost someone. We almost all of the team either lost someone or experienced some tragedy connected with this invasion. So it's emotionally very heavy.
Understandable. Like you said, it's something that, yes, you can learn from, but it's something no one should really ever have to learn from in this
Yeah,
modern
yeah.
age.
It
Um,
can definitely, make a person stronger, but at what cost? This is probably the main problem,
yes,
which we will probably try to solve it after the war and for years and years.
yes, yes. Um, Now, pivoting back to the Sherlock Holmes game,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I,
yeah, yeah.
I love the evolution of the Sherlock Holmes games. I've played a lot of the older ones, but especially the most recent outing with Chapter One. That was the first time I'd ever reviewed a Sherlock Holmes game, and I really enjoyed my time with it. How do you take steps forward in game design while still developing a remake? Because that's kind of a challenge.
Well, yeah, there was a trick that we connected this remake to the story of the chapter one. So basically, it's continuation of the story which happened in the previous game. but connected with the story of the original. So some things need to be reworked. Some things that was, well, not worked properly in the previous entry of the series, we have to update them to maybe cut something or something else. Also, should note that main transition was that while Sherlock Holmes Chapter 1 was the open world game, the new one is more, it's more streamlined, it's more linear in terms of how levels are built in the game. It's not as big as it was previous, probably. If I can say, it would took probably 16 hours instead of how much bigger was the previous game of ours. So we have to adapt some tools how to work, because everything which was built for the open world game, okay, now it has to change to something more, more linear or something like that. So it was a big challenge. Yeah, but
Understand.
I hope that we solved it.
How do you feel that your work has differentiated in Awakened where compared to Chapter 1?
Well, I'm very glad that when game's smaller, I had to produce less music. Because I remember the time on Chapter 1 when I'm like, Jesus, another case. Oh, here we go. Okay. Few more tracks. Here we go. Dropped it. And so it became a bit easier. Plus, open world games, sometimes they cannot allow you to, to micromanagement some small pieces here and there because of the resources. It can damage performance issues or something like that. And with these games, I had more, more space to do some weird audio stuff.
Okay.
And even some experiments.
Awesome. Well, look forward to hearing those. As you're a sound designer, how tough is it to listen to sounds that were made almost 15 years ago, and you have to figure out how to make it fresh, but you don't want to take away from the original, and you want to preserve some of it. How do you deal with that?
How can I, it's hard for me to explain how this process happened, because I've used a lot from the previous game and adapted it, mixed it with some old sounds, some melodies that were a huge part of the previous game. I was like, okay, let's play with it, but make it different, make it, something new, something which would be connected to the previous game. So while some changes in the sound or in the music would be known, but it would be familiar for the person who played it. Jesus, how many years ago that was. And the person who played, for example, only Chapter 1, and that's a sequel or / remake. Okay, I feel that I'm in the same place. Characters are the same. Music sounds similar, or something like that.
Awesome. Yeah, that's a really cool idea. I honestly hadn't even thought about that, of the fact of somebody may have just played Chapter 1 and jumping into this, you want them to feel that feeling of familiarity as well, not just the people from 15 years ago. One of my favorite things in a video game is the right atmosphere. And you can't do that right unless the sound design, the music, everything, unless that immerses the player. How do you usually start projects, and what's your process to get to there?
Well, at first, when I see first concept arts or something like that, or, a prototype white box version of the level with sharp lightings and all, and plus story description, okay, this level, it's roll like that. This story bit, it's roll like that. After that, I'm starting to create a very simple demo, just, to fix on, okay, probably this dark warehouse should have something like that. Like, okay, here we have some dark tone humming around us. Maybe, okay, well, probably weather would be bad because we're making a dark game. Okay, let's add some winds. And you're starting to, when you return and return after each pass of the different members of the team and you return to the audio, you upgrade what you already have done. So it's more like layer after layer.
Hmm.
And in terms of music, for me, it was pretty easy because I've decided to do probably a cheap thing because I've decided, okay, we have some music which worked in the chapter one. Let's take some inspiration from it. And also, we have Lovecraftian mythos, uh, which heavily impacts the overall game story. Okay, let's take some inspiration from The Sinking City, because it was also a Lovecraftian game, and try to collide it. Of course, do not make it as much dark and as much industrialish as it was in The Sinking City, but to find something mixed with it. So you should play the game and hear and decide how it end up.
Awesome. That the Sinking City is one of those in my backlog on my list to play because I've heard nothing but good things about it.
You
Um,
should definitely try it.
uh, in your career, there's probably been a lot of different moments in sound design that you've had to deal with. Are there any in particular that you're proud of, or that you think you were unique experiences that you'd like to share?
Mm, I'm probably consider that I've managed to finish the music for the chapter one, because when I proposed that, okay, I'm doing the sound design, but I can also do music, because I was working also on music for the Sinking City, but there was also another person who helped me with that. But now I'm like, okay, I have full power, full control. I had to develop everything, and it was very tough. And but when I finished it, I'm like, well, I can do big things. That's great. So it's more like there's probably nothing unique in it, but it's more like a personal milestone or something like that. Okay, I can do this now.
Awesome.
Uh, like a feeling of overcoming a challenge or something like that.
Like beating a boss in Elden Ring.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Melania, solo her.
Exactly. Well, I could tell you definitely accomplished a lot in chapter one. The music design was wonderful. Um,
Thank you.
Now, this is our final question. This one's a little more personal for me because I did our preview for The Awakened, and Heidi the doll scared the ever living crap out of me. And I have to ask if you were behind any of the sound design, the design behind her specifically, because it freaked me out and it did its. I'm assuming that was what its job was to do.
Yeah, we worked with our cinematic team, and we decided, okay, well, it's a creepy doll, and it talks. Let's make it silly and creepy simultaneously, and we decided, okay, let's add some wooden creaks and some effects on the voice, so suddenly it's tries to scare the shit out of you and something like that, with the punch or something like that. And it was exciting process to add all the small features in the voice lines, and also due to voice lines were great, so it was very funny to work with it. And I'm glad that how we imagined this dialogue should have worked, that you experienced something like we imagined it.
Oh, good. Yeah, uh I went back and watched the original scene and I'm like,
Mhm.
this is nowhere near as frightening as what this is here. So it is definitely doing its job, and I imagine there are going to be plenty of other moments as we play through Awaken that will pop up and freak us out a little bit, I would imagine.
It's not far from the release, so you probably soon will experience it at all.
Awesome. Well, we definitely want to thank you for your time. Thank you for spending a little bit of it with us. Uh, I am very excited to play Sherlock Holmes The Awakened, which, for anyone listening, that is releasing on April the 11th, and it'll be available on PlayStation, Xbox, and PC platforms, as well as is it coming to Nintendo Switch?
Yes, also.
Awesome. It is coming to Nintendo Switch, so go ahead, go out there, pre-order it, get yourself ready to jump right back in and enjoy your time with Sherlock Holmes. And once again, thank you again, Viacheslav, for spending some time with us.
Thank you. Have a nice day.